All right, welcome to episode 18 of Long Toss. We're old enough to drink now in some provinces. No, crickets. That's all right. That deserves crickets.
I like that one.
I spent all afternoon writing that joke, so this is great. All right, this is good. All right, so episode 18 of the Long Toss here on the Walkoff, brought to you by Oh My Apparel.
Oh my.
And we have a nice little clip of Susan Sarandon saying, "Oh my." So anybody watching in the live chat can let us know, name that movie, where that clip of Susan Sarandon is from. But big thanks to Oh My Apparel. Out hustle my yesterday, Canadian athletic apparel out of Calgary. So thanks for the support. Appreciate that. Patreon, patreon.com/the Walkoff podcast. Big shout out to our Patreons over there. So David, Avraham, Michael, Sarah, John, Simon, Rashid, Joshua, Jeremy, and Ian. Big thank you there. $4 a month. Support us if you can. If you can't, like, comment, help the algorithm. We appreciate it nonetheless. Patreon, we have our newest movie review for Moneyball is now live. Only about 2.5 months late on that. Hey, Scott?
That's right, buddy.
You know counting, what? I figured I'd throw it to you right as you were taking a big sip of your coffee. So that's that makes for great listening. On our Patreon, we have movie reviews now of Bull Durham, Mr. Baseball, Major League, and now Moneyball. A League of Their Own has been lost to time. Someone deleted that on accident when making room for the interview with Danny Jansen. So there's that. Scott and I will be recording Field of Dreams this week. That's it for Patreon. Let's have a look at what we've got on the show for today. Angels series wrap up.
By the way, Adam,
Scott, go ahead.
I do want to just mention to you what a great humble brag that was on your part of yes, sure, we didn't get League of Your Own out there, but also obviously we're interviewing Danny Jansen, starting catcher for the Blue Jays. Pretty big deal here on the
You
Walkoff.
caught that subtle little brag there.
Subtle little.
All right. Well, I'm glad that was picked up. Thank you. All right, so we got to look at the Angels series and some other wins this week. We've taken at least 3 out of 4, but I guess at the time of this recording, we are halfway through the 4th game of that Angels series. So we'll see. Maybe that game's over by the time we're done here, but probably not. We're going to take a look at West Coast games in general. Who likes them? Pros and cons. Obviously, the time zone's different. It's thrown my whole schedule for a whack, but we'll get into that. Jordan Romano, is he being overworked? Obviously, we weren't happy with what we saw the last game there against the Angels. We'll have a look at an upcoming series with the White Sox, hence Rick being here, our resident White Sox guy. Woo woo. Then we're going to talk the weird slapping incident between Pham and Peterson there. We'll get into that.
I want you getting ideas, Kami. I played you a couple weeks ago. I don't feel like being slapped.
We're going to talk Kapler's protest. We're going to talk Charlie as a manager and the moves that he's made this week. We're going to talk Teoscar Hernandez extension. And then we're going to play Guess the Career Earnings at some point as well, which, by the way, we need a better name for this segment. So let us know in the comments or shoot us a message on Twitter. I've suggested Saturday night salary game on a Sunday evening, but Scott hates the Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon already, so I don't think I want to push my luck too hard there. We are live for this show every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, so if you're watching now on YouTube, get in our chat along with us. We'll try to get as many as the comments as we can. We do have super chats enabled, so if you choose to send a super chat with a small donation, you're crazy, please don't do it. But if you do, we promise we will read all of your $2 messages that you send in. I'm almost out of breath. If you are watching this Monday morning or beyond, please like and comment. We will get your comments, if they don't suck, into our mailbag on the Tuesday. If they suck, we might still get them in. All right, that's enough for me. Let's throw around the table here. Scott, how are you doing? How was your weekend?
It was good. It was a good weekend. The Jays have been on a hot streak. Been loving to see that. I mean, none of these games have made me feel confident or want to jump right into this excitement pool. But hey, 4 of the last 4. You can't ask for more. I didn't mean to rhyme that. That was
scheme.
total
Hey,
coincidence,
that's pretty
by
impressive.
the way. Yes.
Wow, very good. Speaking of impressive, Joel with the fresh haircut. How you doing, Joel? Joel's muted. He doesn't know yet, though. Oh, that's
Hold on,
Sorry,
how
my
long
bad.
is it going to take him?
My bad. I was just making a bunch of terrible sounds, so I figured I'd keep myself. No, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I went and saw Top Gun, and it was amazing. And Jays have had a win streak since I've seen it, so I somehow correlated the two. So I'm hoping that doesn't go away right now. But no, things are good. We're winning, so got to be happy, right?
And you've brought with you our resident White Sox fan, Rick. How you doing?
I'm great. Well, in a White Sox sense, not so great, but everything else is great. So
Very good. Jen, nice to see you as always. How you doing?
I'm good. I've discovered an apparent peanut allergy. So for those of you who are either allergic to peanuts or have little ones that are, please recommend your favorite alternative to peanut butter.
Ooh, that is a good question. Good peanut butter alternative. If you can't have peanuts, can you have any nut, or is it like the peanut specifically, or is it just a general?
I'm allergic to cashews, and I think peanuts are triggering the cashew allergy. It's happened twice now, so that's my scientific guess.
see,
Interesting.
everybody's thinking really.
Your allergies are dumb. They don't know. What's a peanut? What's a cashew? I don't know.
I don't know. Let's freak out just in case. I'm for sure not the right person to ask about nut specialties. I just learned this week that Nutella is not simply hazelnut peanut butter. It is hazelnut and chocolate. So I just thought that's what hazelnuts tasted like, was delicious chocolate nuts. Until I had my first hazelnut and was sadly mistaken. So,
Okay, well, maybe a listener has an idea for me then.
Sounds good. If you're watching along, let's help Jen out with her nut allergy here. All right, so let's take a look at this Angels series. I hear an echo in the background. Who has their YouTube playing? Scott, is that you?
Nope.
All right. No one's gonna own up to it.
But I'm pulling it up right now.
I don't hear the echo anymore, so someone discreetly saved themselves an echo, but that's okay. All right, so let's start with the Angels series in general. We took, was it 2 out of 3 versus the, who did we play this week? Now I'm all torn up.
1 of 2 versus the Cardinals.
Thank you, Jen. One of 2 versus the Cardinals. We split that series, and now we've gone 3 for 3 so far against the Angels, but as we look here in the middle of 5th, it is 8-6 for the Angels. Barrios chased from this game after, I think, in the 4th inning, was it?
In the 3rd.
In the 3rd, 2 1/3 innings for Barrios. Baraki came in and didn't fare too much better. How are we feeling? I mean, I think right off the hop, we've got to be happy we took at least 3 from this series, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, wins are what matters, but are we thrilled with what we've seen? Maybe that's the question.
Well,
My connection is really
an amazing job.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
We're
but
choppy
this
and all
team-
over the place here. Scott, you take the lead on this.
Okay, well, I just will say what Jen was alluding to pretty much is that this team does a great job of never really instilling any sort of confidence that they found what has kind of lacked over the last couple months. And what do? I mean, you take the wins, obviously. I mean, I loved watching last night's game. It was phenomenal. It was so fun to just sit around and kind of like have some beers too. And it was up and down, a roller coaster of emotions. Ross Stripling winds up saving the game after Jordan Romano, an overworked Jordan Romano, which I know we're going to get to, kind of scuffles a little bit. I don't know what to say, man. Like, this team, they took 3 out of 4 against an Angels team that is a very, very good team. Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, both in the lineup. They had Ohtani pitching, and they put up runs against them all 3 games they've faced. I mean, we're in the middle of game 4 here. They've put up 6 runs. This game's not over either. I mean, obviously, we'll keep everyone apprised to what's going on. We're all watching it, but, like, I don't know. All in all, if you were to not watch these games and just look at the box scores, I would be thrilled with this.
Well, I will tell you, as someone who has, and we're going to get to this in a minute, struggled with these games being played out west. I have not been able to watch any of these games. I've only been checking the box scores, and I have been thrilled with this. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Scott.
Yeah.
As someone who hasn't been able to watch any of the games, but just seeing the results, I mean, we're winning. We're putting up runs to do it. I see Kevin Biggio is playing, and he's kind of all over the place. He's in left field. I saw he's at first base today. Matt Chapman's getting that batting average up. Like, he's creeping closer and closer to 200, something respectable. I was looking the last 2 weeks for Matt Chapman. He's hitting 257 with an OPS around 750. So, I mean, things are looking up for Matt Chapman.
You look at the last few games, Lourdes is finding it. Chapman's finding it. Biggio's looked good. All of a sudden, the bottom end of this batting order is hitting. They're getting on base. They're turning the lineup over. This is a much deadlier lineup when, you're not just counting X's on the, you're not just marking outs on the 7, 8, 9 hitters. So, I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. Again, they keep doing, like, if you didn't watch the game, it's hard to explain the feeling. Jen, maybe you have better words than I do for what I'm saying right now, but it's just like, I watched yesterday's game, I watched Thursday's game and Friday's game, and it's just like, okay, they did it.
Yeah, I'll admit I've seen very, very little of these games just because of time zone. I used to stay up and watch all West Coast games, even on a work night, and I'm no the games that start at 10 p.m. here, I'm just out. I just can't do it. So yeah, you wake up in the morning and you check the box score, and it's great to see that they're winning. They're putting up hits, they're putting up runs. All of that is good. But they're still struggling to hit with runners in scoring position, right? Which is really, really interesting given the fact that they are winning these games, So I don't know. Again, it's an approach thing, I suppose. And for me, that really needs to somehow start taking care of itself, in order to, as you were saying, instill more confidence in this lineup.
I'd have to completely agree with that. I think the pitching's holding it up. The hitting's got to come around. Last 11 games, they've only allowed 3 runs 3 times, and in 2 of them resulted in losses. So the latest one was a win against the Angels. But I mean, they're 9th in ERA in the major leagues. Only the division leaders all rank above them, but the Mets at 13. I think it's the hitting. I mean, the hitting, they're bottom 10 in a lot of the categories on there. So I think the hitting's going to have to improve.
Joel, how are you feeling? That's a great point.
I think things are working. You hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay.
You sound good, buddy.
All right, weird. So we're still, are we on the topic of our general feelings of the Jays or just the series?
Coming through the series, but I mean, we're always off topic, so expanding on that if you want.
Thing that's just on my mind right now, just for the last 2 games, was, we're going to rest Vladdy. We're going to not play Danny. We're not going to play Teo today. It just seemed like everybody knew that the ball was going to be flying today and not last night. And those balls that went warning track yesterday, I'm just like, oh man, why were you, we were just so stung for home runs yesterday. We pulled it out, but today just seemed like home run day. So if you wanted to boost some confidence, especially for Teo, and it's a lefty, right? Like, lefties on the mound. But Zimmer's in there, so I don't know. It seemed to me like everybody knew that the ball was going to be flying today, and LA scoring all their runs today on homers. We're coming out, we're small balling it, and we're like, don't get me wrong, we put up 6 runs, but just seemed like today was the day where the ball was going to be flying, and the guys that you want to, hit the home runs are not in the lineup today. So it's kind of interesting.
I mean, we talked, like, one of the things that was the most frustrating about this series is exactly what you're kind of touching on there, Joel, is that I don't really understand the guys who are getting days off. I mean, you look, Thursday's an off day. Springer is DH on the Friday, and then he gets the day off yesterday. Or, sorry, Wednesday was the off day. Nonetheless, DH day on Friday and then a full day off yesterday. I just don't understand why in a series against a team like the Angels, where there are definitely going to be playoff implications involved in this, even if it comes down to the last 4 games of the season, you want to be in a situation like you are with Houston, right, where you're going to win the tiebreaker. This is all on the line right now, especially after winning the first 2 games of the series, and then they sit Springer. We're sitting Teo and Vlad tonight. I don't really understand the thinking there.
Vlad apparently is a wrist thing today.
So okay, and I'm fine with that then.
Yeah, so that makes sense. But if you have to sit Vlad because you're resting a body part, then why are you also sitting Teo, for example, right? That part doesn't make any sense.
Especially against a lefty, and you're running out 3 lefty bats and Sandoval. Like, don't get me wrong, our lefties got hits today, but before today, they were lefties were combined like 1 for 28 against Sandoval. They hadn't gotten hits since like
if you're
May
following the
15th or something.
stats, makes no sense.
There was no reason to think 3 lefties would have done anything in today's game.
Yeah, that was just a miraculous. So maybe he's the greatest. No, like he can fluke out on the weird pickup. No, lefties is the way to go today, but I don't think so. I thought that was really flukish to get any lefty hits, and it's just on another topic. It's Cavan coming back and having some patience at the plate and just kind of doing his thing again and being able to move him around. That's just nice to see. It's just nice to see him coming up.
We'll talk Cavavigio in a bit here, but as far as the rest days go, I just want to chime in and say, like, tomorrow is an off day for everybody. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know. It is on the one hand frustrating that, like, couldn't tomorrow have just been the rest day, right? But maybe they're looking at it as an opportunity of like the start of the season was such a slog. We have an opportunity to give our guys 2 full days of rest. Let's take advantage. Like, we already took 3 out of 4 against the Angels, so let's just punt on Sunday. If we lose, we lose. Like, we still won 2 more games than anybody was hoping for.
I truly hope that no one's attitude is let's punt a game.
Agreed.
Well,
agreed.
I hope not too, but I mean, you do have to rest at some point. Like,
no, and I get it. And like I said, Vlad makes sense, right? If his wrist is hurting, it makes sense wanting to give him the 2 days. And maybe there's something up with Teo or whatever. I don't know. And this is kind of treading on the topic that I'm maybe going to bring up later on. But you've got this lefty on the mound who, lefties haven't been able to hit. So why would you not, keep Teo in? He's still trying to find his timing. And maybe against this lefty would have been, a benefit to him. Who knows? Mm-hmm. You've got Danny Jansen, and I understand not wanting 2 catchers in the lineup, perhaps, but would you not also want both Jansen and Kirk in there? So I'm not really sure. Like I said, I hope the attitude isn't punting a game because the series is already won. That's all I'm getting at.
Oh, especially coming from a team that, I mean, this is a fan base that sat here and watched the Jays miss the playoffs by 1 game. Of course, we're a little bit gun shy of just giving 1 game away. Like, I mean, you need them all that you can get. So I agree with Jen. I hope that is not the mentality here of just like, well, if we lose it, we lose it.
And also, still, I don't understand the point of you're going to sit all your big sluggers, but you're going to lead Springer. Springer's going to lead off, and so it's just like, to me, that I get Springer leading off, and the full roster is all on fire, and everybody's firing on all cylinders, and all the bats are going, but he's the best bat in the lineup, and he's leading off. And in
So I
today,
have a
he's the
question.
best bat in the lineup.
I have a question. I have a question for all of you here, because I know that Joel messages, like Joel texts, we text all the time, and Joel's always texting me, Springer should not be leading off, right? The bat he has, he should be in the 2-hole, he should be in the 3-hole, somewhere in there. They should have a different leadoff guy. Do you think part of the reason that the Blue Jays, and of course we're all in the dark on this, so this is all speculative, but do you think maybe there was some sort of clause in his contract of like, until it's no longer apparent that he should be leading off, that he gets to lead off? Because it really does feel like it's a foregone conclusion. When Charlie shakes the lineup, he's still, I mean, we saw it yesterday when Springer was sitting. We saw Espinal lead off, but that's it, right? Otherwise, Springer's in the 1-hole.
I would be surprised if there was a clause in the contract itself, but it wouldn't surprise me if,
Verbally.
It's based on conversation as to comfort level, right? Like we do, I as much as we can debate who should hit where, we do know that Vlad has said he would prefer to hit third, right? I'm sure Springer would prefer to lead off. That's my guess, right? So perhaps it's just putting players where they say they're most comfortable hitting. It may still be worth shaking up the lineup and trying something different if the whole runners in scoring position thing continues to go along this track, but that's what I think it is. I think it's based more on those conversations versus an actual clause.
If you don't bat Springer, who do you bat? Ask to any one of you guys.
Joel,
Like
take
today?
this one, buddy.
Go ahead, Joel. Who do you bet? No, just in general. If you're not going to bat Springer, who are you batting? Who are you putting at lead off on that team?
For most of the season, I would say Espinal would probably do it for me with a 335, 340 on base, lots of doubles, OPS nicely over 7, and then that just spreads out everything 2 through 6, 7. That feels a lot longer. And then when it cycles back around, I like that at bat that Espinal gives you, that long at bat. It's hard to strike him out. He tries to keep the ball in play. His power is based in the field, so he's not so home run dependent. Like there's a consistency to that. There's his offense it stays true at where it is compared to like the 200-point OPS drops that you're seeing with Ohtani. Ohtani's sitting at 7-7. He's got 2 home runs today, but his OPS is like 770. Vladdy's is 780, right? That home run dependency, those balls that don't go out, which is so much OPS, when those don't go out, you suffer a lot. And Espinal's just not based on that style of offense, right? So he's got an on-base streak right now of going into this game of 21 games. Is that not that's exactly what you would want out of your leadoff guys? So I would say Espinal.
Good on the base path too. That's a guy you don't see make
Yeah.
mistakes rounding. He's not a guy that we've seen a few times some gaffes on the base paths where guys get picked off oddly or make a mistake where they've just a bonehead play, but you don't see it out of Espinal.
Yeah, and I just think about how you got Springer, right? Springer's got since 2000 that stat they bring up, how he's got the most leadoff home runs in baseball. If you're taking him and putting him in the 2 spot, and 34% of the time the guy's getting in front of that, and it's a 2-run homer, that's twice as much production out of that same hit, right? And that just seems to me like why are you when he hits a leadoff home run, everybody's happy, and I'm just like, I hate it. I hate when he hits leadoff home runs. I hate a game starts the game off the home run. I'm just like, oh my god, we wasted another one.
I can attest to this, by the way. Joel
Yes.
gives an angry text every
get the
time.
text every
There's
time.
a leadoff home run. Yeah,
We do.
34% chance that could be 2, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk West Coast games in general. I am still I feel like I was in a car accident this weekend. I had a headache like that took me out all of Friday and Saturday, and I still feel a little woozy here. So if I tell us to take the next topic and we've already covered it, someone please politely just tell me, hey, we already talked West Coast games, dum dum. Okay.
No, we're good. You're nailing the.
Okay. So West Coast games. Who likes them? Who doesn't? Pros and cons. Scott, let's start with you because I know we were talking about the Apple broadcast. I think it was for Friday night's game. I totally missed it. I didn't get to see the broadcast at all. Do you want to talk Apple first and then get into the West Coast games?
Sure. I'm going to start with what would be the devil's advocate here. I like the West Coast games. I'm on Mountain Time anyways. My Flames are out, so the hockey season's over. I love being able to sit down and watch a baseball game that starts at 8 o'clock. It ends at 11:30. It takes up my evening. I'm old. I don't want to go out anymore. I just want my time filled in a way that I love enjoying my time, right? Which is watching baseball. So sitting outside, I held my TV out on the deck last night, drank beer. It was great. I fucking loved it. The West Coast games are amazing. But also, as someone who has lived in Halifax, hated it when I was on maritime time. 3 hours is a pretty wide gap. So I really do think this whole West Coast game thing has a lot to do with just where you're situated in the country. I'm sure the closer you are to the West, the more you enjoy it. And I don't know. And as for Apple TV, I didn't see what the big deal was. Everyone hated on it so hard. It's not like I loved the Apple TV broadcast, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It was fine. That was my thought anyways.
Rick, let's go to you. Have you seen any of the Apple broadcast White Sox games or anything like that yet?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I'm a big analytics guy. So I mean, I don't mind the analytics in there. I still don't think it needs to be like the biggest thing out there and we need to be paying like 110% attention to it, but I do like the fact that you can see probability charts and a lot of stuff on there. I think it makes the game interesting. The broadcast for me, I barely ever pay attention. It's background noise for me because I'm usually doing something else, trying to watch the game at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it really doesn't have an effect on me. And I live in Illinois, so I mean, depending on the time difference, the most it can be is 2 hours, and I'm usually up late, so I will catch a game on, I'll pop on MLB.com and try to catch a late game. I'm a type of person who likes to watch baseball throughout the day. Yeah. So it really doesn't affect me too much, so I don't mind them.
Fair enough. Jen, I think you're the furthest one east here in Ontario there. So how do you feel about these West Coast games? Did you catch the Blue Jays broadcast on the Apple side of things, and what do you think about it?
I don't have Apple TV, so I'm not going to subscribe for a few games. I just can't be bothered, to be completely honest. And I'm not I have no opinion on the broadcast because I haven't seen it, but I really wish MLB wouldn't do such gimmicky things all the time. Just let the fans watch the game, right? Like that's all. You're trying to grow the game. You want it, more fans to pay attention. Then just make it easier for people to watch the game. That's all I can say about that. West Coast games. So Scott said he's old. I'm older, I think. So games start at, when the game starts at 10 o'clock here, I might watch an inning and then I'm calling it a night. I just can't, I used to stay up even if I had to go to work the next day. I used to stay up and sort of revel in being one of the ones to stay up and watch the entire game and, just sort of the fun of it all. But now I prioritize sleep over almost everything else. That's how old I am. That being said, though, what I do like about West Coast games is that opportunity to see players, right, that you're not seeing a lot of, because, I'm not going to sit down and watch, an Angels home game that starts at 10 p.m. my time, unless probably they are playing the Jays. So it does allow you to see players that are really exciting that you're otherwise not watching. So that aspect of it, I think, is fantastic.
It is
Joel?
cool to get to see Trout and Ohtani. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I could watch them in Toronto though at the properly scheduled time. I'd be just as happy myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Joel, how are you feeling about West Coast games? Did you catch the Apple broadcast?
I didn't catch the Apple broadcast, but I think it comes to really to what Scott says, that we're in this beautiful, magical area where we can watch, the late games on the West Coast, and 5 o'clock games on the East just seem like a nice time to start a baseball game. A baseball game's 3.5 hours long. So like, I'll start it, 5 o'clock. I can record it. I can start it half an hour late, whatever. And it's magical that we can fit out on either coast. It's such a difference, right? Like you're out on the East, and you really can't watch those games that start late on the West Coast. And but we, magically in, central, Canada, find this beautiful glory zone to be able to watch, East, West, whatever we want.
Yeah.
It's just really nice.
I've been, a Jays fan forever, living in BC and Alberta. So like for me, baseball games are just supposed to start at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and a great activity to just have while you're out there barbecuing up some burgers or whatever in the evening. And then by the time the game's over, you're like, I still have my whole night ahead of me. So even for like a Toronto fan in Ontario, I can't even really wrap my mind around the idea of just like 160 times a year, having baseball start at 7. That just seems weird to me. It wrinkles my brain. So, all right. So let's move on from there then. Let's talk Jordan Romano. Kind of got blown up yesterday. Obviously, today's a day off, followed by the nobody plays tomorrow. So 2 days off for Jordan Romano. But he had pitched 3 days in a row against this Angels
first
team.
time this year, by the way.
For the first time this year. Velocity continues to be, do we want to say a concern, Scott? I know you've mentioned the velo's down on Jordan Romano, and on Saturday it looked as low as it gets. He was out of gas, literally.
Yeah, he was hitting 94, 95 tops, and that's not when Jordan Romano was at his best. I mean, we saw last year at the end of the year when he was touching 100, and he was just that much more dominant, obviously, right? Triple digits. Yeah. There's a reason every team out there is clamoring for guys who throw 100 plus. Jordan Romano's our guy. His slider on average this year is down 2 miles per hour. That is substantial. Now, his fastball, not as much. He's still averaging, I think it was just over 96 miles an hour, which is still very adequate, obviously, and is going to get the job done. And it's only about 1 mile an hour less than we saw last year. But the slider lack of velo is if not concerning, it's worth questioning how much work he's getting. He was always a guy that had a complementary piece, if you will, at the high leverage side of the bullpen, whether it's even just a Tim Mesa or whoever it is, he has, even though he's kind of been given the reins to be the guy, there's always been someone else to go to. And I think with Mesa on the shelf, Simber also being heavily worked, he was kind of put in a situation last night where, if the truth be told, I don't think Charlie wanted to put him out there. I think he was kind of hoping that he could just kind of get through that inning without too much trouble, got into trouble, and next thing you know, what do? You're calling on Ross Stripling, who the truth is we could have really used at full strength this game today, as we watched Jose Barrios kind of struggle, right? So, I mean, Stripling did come in this game, but he pitched 0.2 of an innings, I think, like 2/3 of an inning. The bullpen's overworked. It's not just Romano. But yes, it is concerning. It absolutely is concerning, in my opinion, anyways.
He's still pitching now.
Stripling?
Yeah.
Do you think the velocity is down due to overworking, or do you think it's something else?
Come back out for the 6th. Good call there, Joel.
Oh, I'm double duty. I'm pulling double duty here and trying to watch it at the same time. But no, I like with that's a really great point, Scott, that you have a closer, but there are situations where you can go to an alternate guy when it is 3 runs up and you don't have to use your closer in 3 straight games. And I don't know what, like, something so drastic as seeing, Romano throwing 93 it's scary, but it's a scary revelation, especially when it's on the mound and you have to use him for 3 batters.
Yeah.
It's like, you would think that they would have the gun on him, in the pen warming up, and you're like, he's hitting 92 right now, Charlie. Maybe somebody else tonight, I know you're not supposed to like dial it up to that point warming up in the pen. You're just expected to go out. But like, is there not some sort of visual indication that bullpen catchers, like, the glove's not popping the way it usually does, like, is there not something to say? But no, now it's that situation where you got to face 3 batters, right? So you go out, that fastball that is happy when it's 98 is sitting there 92, 93, and you're just like, God, I gotta wait it out. I gotta wait out these certain amount of bats. So, I don't know. But it definitely seems like it's an overworked thing, right? Like losing the arms that we've lost, Meza especially, man. Like we haven't.
Oh.
I think Tim Meza may be the guy that we talk like up the most legitimately on this weekly show. We have just nothing but nice, amazing things to say about how he comes in.
Yeah, he's still out.
Yeah. So like that 8th inning guy who is a hybrid 9th inning guy when you need him against a bunch of lefties. But it's
such a
big piece, man. It's big outs in very high leverage situations that aren't there. And when you miss them, you really miss them. Like the Yankees have an overload almost of that, right?
I agree. That's a great example. The Yankees have an overload of that, of just like underrated guys that might be just off the radar a little bit, that maybe not the casual fans are going to herald as heroes. But I mean, this team, if you look at both Ross Stripling and Tim Meza, like, can you say enough good things about Ross Stripling and Tim Meza? Like, both of them, they never get the starlight is, like the spotlight's never on them when it comes to the media and stuff like that. But they have been just 2 cogs in this machine that have been invaluable. And when they're not there, you feel it. And that's what we're seeing right now with Tim Meza being out, right? A lot of people wouldn't have even noticed his not being there, but my goodness, like, it just, you're putting guys in situation that maybe they shouldn't be in. Speaking of that, though, Trevor Richards, talk about stepping up. I know not everyone has been able to watch these West Coast games, but if you have missed it, his changeup it's the best I've seen it since he's joined the Jays. It is incredible. And he has just been, the swing and miss stuff that Trevor Richards is getting the last week has been unreal.
Yeah, we don't really have, the big strikeout artist coming out of the pen this year. And over the last few games that I've seen, Richards, that low and away changeup is as nasty of a strikeout pitch that is being on display over the last, 15 games or so. So I agree. And the gray, is there a nickname for him? Can you call him like the Gray Ghost or something? I just
to watch. It's awesome.
The Gray Ghost.
Well, the problem with Meza being out and
the Gray Ghost, yeah.
Scott's
problem-
on time delay. He's in a different time zone right now.
Sorry.
The problem with Meza being out and, Romano being overworked and seeing that with his velocity dip and what happened last night is, it exposes that weakness in the bullpen right now. And, we saw with Baraki being run out there today, somebody tweeted that between Baraki and Merriweather, they've allowed 18 runs in their 19 innings pitched and allowed 9 out of 13 inherited runners to score.
Wow.
So, I mean, I'll admit I tweeted that the Ryan Baraki experiment is probably over, completely forgetting the fact that Meza is still out. So it's probably not quite over yet. But, between Baraki and Merriweather and what we've seen, it's clear that bullpen help has to come. at some point, and the sooner the better.
Yeah, well, Scott, do you want to talk Matt Gage and your thoughts on that?
So there's obviously only two ways to address this bullpen deficiency, and that is either in a trade or from within. And right now, from within might be the best move in the next couple weeks anyways, until we get a little bit further into June and all of a sudden the trade talks start to heat up, and some of these teams who are already technically out of it are almost a little bit more prepared to throw in the towel. But right now, the closing pitcher in Buffalo is Matt Gage. He's a lefty who's been sharing the duties with Adrian Hernandez, and they're two very different guys. So Hernandez is a right-handed pitcher. He's 23 years old. And then Matt Gage is 29 years old, a dude who has kicked around the minor leagues for years, kind of repositioned his arm slot a couple years ago and figured it out. And all of a sudden right now he's in Buffalo. He's got a whip of .882, which is just like phenomenal. Like he's under a walk and a hit per inning. It's incredible what he is doing right now in Buffalo. Matt Gage was lucky. I mean, we were very lucky to have him come on the show just a few days ago. And of course, I got all excited on Blue Jay Central this afternoon when Arden Zwelling's like, Matt Gage is a guy we could see up here in the next few days. And we're just like, wow, the walk-off bump. Look at that. But no, Matt Gage is a guy who has been around the minor leagues long enough that he's a dude that you could really see maybe stepping in and taking an opportunity like this. He's dealt with these AAA 4A guys for long enough that I don't think the major leagues might be quite as a big of a jump as, let's say, Adrian Hernandez, a 23-year-old kid who just is getting his first taste of AAA this year. So I think Matt Gage is a good example of a dude who, if Vasquez isn't going to get called back up, or maybe Sasado, he's probably the next guy on the depth chart to get a call up. And then after that, I mean, frick, you got to go and get a trade done. And that might wind up happening sooner than this front office wants to do, which means pricier prospect going the other way.
All right. Any last points you want to add about this bullpen before we move on to the next thing?
The only thing I was looking at was some relievers that actually have more innings pitched, like Clay Holmes from the Yankees, who has about 24 innings pitched, which I think Romano is at 19 in the third. Holmes has got 4.0 ER, or 4.0 record with a .36 ERA, 6 saves, and a 13% strikeout to walk ratio. I maybe considered this an anomaly, but then I looked at somebody else who had a higher innings pitched this season. That's David Bednar from the Pirates, and he's also thrown 24 innings, 1-1 with a 7.5 ERA, 9 saves, and a WHIP of 6.7. So I agree with not throwing him multiple. I don't agree with throwing him multiple days, especially like you guys said in situations. But his overworked, that kind of taking the flip side on it. That there's a couple guys who are throwing more innings and are still effective. That's why I was kind of throwing out the question of, do we believe it's the velocity is a different issue than being overworked?
Yeah, I don't know if there's underlying body issues.
That's a great question.
Or what the case may be. I know when we spoke with Jeff Blair a couple weeks ago, his concerns with Jordan Romano, because we were asking, is Romano going to take that step into that upper echelon of closers this year? And Jeff Blair had real concerns that, he's not a guy you can trust, at least yet, to go out for 2 innings for the close, right? Or to pitch back to back the way you'd need him to. And I think we're starting to see that Jeff Blair was right about that. There are some concerns, I think, with Jordan Romano.
He's great, but just not everyone's Josh Hader or Liam Hendricks, right?
Yes, he's great, but he's not perfect for sure.
Yeah, I don't think Hader's allowed to run yet this year.
Hader is a god. I don't even get it. He shouldn't exist. He should not exist. It doesn't make sense what he is doing.
All right, so we're going to talk upcoming White Sox series, but before we get to that, we are going to play Guess the Total Career Earnings the game that needs a name. So let us know name suggestions for this series. But we do have a new intro for it, so nobody on the Zoom is going to get to see how awesome this intro is, other than Scott, because I sent it to him beforehand. But no laser sound effects. I tried to find laser sound effects. I had to settle for whooshing sound effects. So here we go. All right, so that is our sick new intro. Big shout out to myself for whipping that up today, despite being in a woozy kind of a state. So maybe that's why I had to settle for whooshing sound effects instead of. All right, so we're gonna start off with total career earnings. Edwin Encarnacion, former Blue Jay, part-time White Sox, couple of years ago, I believe. So let's throw it to our resident White Sox, Rick. Total career
had to
earnings
go to me first, knowing
for
that
Edwin
I'm gonna get the
Encarnacion.
shot in the dark. So you're talking about career earnings. So you're talking about all throughout his career.
Just from contracts, not from gambling or sponsorships outside of baseball. Just official contract money.
God, I don't even know where to start on this one. I am going to be the worst at this. Just going to take a stab in the dark. 60 million. I'm just guessing.
60 million is our first guess out of Rick. All right,
If there was a
Jen.
buzzer, you could give it to me to show that I'm wrong.
No, we got to get everybody's guess first, and then we'll reveal. So, Jen, let's go to you now. Edwin Encarnacion.
I don't know, 90 million.
90 million from Jen.
No idea. No clue.
All right. Scott, how about yourself?
Well, I know that he was given an $80 million 4-year contract from Cleveland. Well, 3 years, 60 with an option. I'm gonna go. Let's go 100.
100 from Scott. Okay, and Joel.
You know what? 101.
100. He's 101ing himself. All right. Joel, what do you got?
I think that sounds about right. Like, you know, he was productive well into his late 30s. So I think over 100 makes sense. I'll go with 114.
114 from
Nice.
Joel.
What a nice thing to do and not say 102.
No, I wasn't. I was going to give you a little bit of a gap
Very
there, but I
gentlemanly.
didn't do that. I had that done to me like 3 times last.
All right, so total career earnings from Edwin Encarnacion, 39 years old, $125 million. So, Joel, you get this one with 114. The floor
right.
is yours, my friend.
Okay. My topic is, it was actually just this kind of singular moment that happened. I believe it was game 1 of the series. And John Schneider came up to Charlie Montoya, and he had a ball that was fouled into the dugout. And he walked up to him, and I read his mouth, and he had another ball in his hand, and he said, "This one is heavier than this one." Just straight and blunt, like really easy to read it on his mouth. He goes, "This ball is heavier than this ball." And they both start holding them, and they're juggling the balls in their hands. And I couldn't get over that. I couldn't get over the fact that maybe it's nothing, but he's like, just the confidence on his hand, and like the jest, and he's like, "This ball is heavier than this ball." And just like, you know, with all the inconsistency that you see in the baseballs, and kind of like a boom that you've seen in home runs, maybe over the last week or so, it is going into summertime and everything. But, you know, it just makes me think, like, what's going on really with the balls? Like, how are there different balls within a game? Are there, like, what's really going on? So I guess that's my topic of choice.
I love that, Joel. I love that you're bringing that up. And you know what it makes me think of? Because I'm a dumb human, right? And if you were to give me a tall, thin glass, but then a short, fat glass, and tell me which has more liquid, I for sure am going to pick the tall glass. So is this a little bit of a placebo thing? Like, right?
Yeah,
Are they like putting two, like, it really could be. And you make a great point. This is how fucked the balls are.
Yeah.
is that like guys are legitimately holding them in their hands and like, nope,
Yeah,
that's garbage. Right?
That's the shocking part to me, was that these are the managers. This is the top, like the top management, and that's what they're doing. They're like, these balls are different. That's what they're talking about in
How
game.
would they know
So-
though? Like, these people who play baseball their entire careers can't tell the difference between. I mean, I don't know how you'd be able to tell. Should bring out like a weight and have them put on the weight, and then it would be believable.
Like the scales of justice, right? That
Yes,
blind-
yes, that's exactly what I had in mind. And then Joel standing behind it.
Oh, that's an image
Judge,
we need
jury,
drawn for
executioner.
sure. Just blind Joel holding up a scale with a ball on one side and a jar of spider tack on the other.
All I have are Tom Brady jokes right now. So to be completely honest.
Oh, man.
But
It just made me
it's
laugh.
interesting. Like, were the balls really, differently weighted, or is it such a, it's screwing with their minds so much that they're looking for something, right? Like, it's hard to know which is which.
I like how we're all doing the motion too when we're talking about it.
It needs
It's
to
like
be
a
done.
habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great
And then
highlight for
the
sure.
fact that you had that game yesterday where it was like, warning track, here's the wall, and it's like right here, like three big balls that you're like, and then obviously ball flight today and seeing the launch. It's just, I don't know, everybody is talking about the balls, and it's just interesting to see, like, even the managers during a game go, that's what's on their mind. That's part of their thought process.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched a video on, I believe it was the Baseball Doesn't Exist channel, and they were talking about the juicing and the deadening of balls and how it's happened just kind of like historically throughout baseball. They've had their dead ball eras, and the solution has been to juice them, and then they've had to deaden them, and it's been this kind of like cycle that has happened kind of throughout the history of baseball. And it's just amazing how much of an effect on the game you can even have by tweaking the ball, right? The point that they brought up was that during the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run race season, that the balls were traveling like 40 feet further than the previous season. Like, just wild stuff. All right, let's
And it's funny that you say how it's supposed to be these eras of, like, the balls are adjusted, like, also it creates a dead ball era, but it's like we're seeing that all within one season.
yeah.
We're seeing the dead ball era.
April and May.
It's like we're seeing the entire history of baseball within 6 months of different balls coming in and out.
It is tough to take Pete Alonso's conspiracy theory of they're messing with the balls depending on whether the free agent class is pitcher heavy or hitter heavy, to just throw it out the window, right? Like, when you watch two major league managers grab the balls and be like, no, these are both fucked, right? Like, yeah, like, I don't know. It's a problem. It's insane. And again, even if they're wrong, even if those balls were identical, the fact that is the thought
So
process,
much in their head. Yeah.
it's wow.
Yeah.
Well, because, and like you said, if it's in their heads that much, how much is it in Vladdy's head? When he's hitting it to the warning track, or I think it was a friend of the show, Trevor Freeman, sent Scott and I this clip. I think it was a New York Yankees prospect who bat flipped a double because he thought it was gone, and then he got thrown out as he was hustling in a second there. Pretty funny, but I think we watched Jock Peterson actually too watch a very deep fly out that he thought he hit over the fence. So
Vladdy the other day had his hands up in the air, didn't get to third base on a deep fly ball, and just because. And these are reactions from baseball players who know what the sound is, the launch angle is, the ball launching up. They know what that should do. And then it comes 20 feet short and everybody's puzzled. Like, I remember that Stanton ball that he hit at the very beginning of the year in that first series we played against the Yankees. And everybody, the commentator, that ball's 490. Oh, wait, what? It falls into Tappy's glove. And it's just kind of been a season of that. It's like, everybody's shocked. It just falls in the warning track. You're like, did you hear that thing? That went 102.
Baseball fan, right? Any baseball fan this season that any baseball fan this season who has watched a dozen games, we've all had at least a dozen plus moments where we've watched the outfielder back up and then need to really hustle in to catch it shallow, right? Like, and you're like, oh, he just about, he had to basket catch that just to get to it in time, right? So even these guys who know the routes and outfielders who are experienced in getting to these fly balls are misjudging them.
All I have
All
a
right.
picture of Sean Casey getting thrown out at first base, hitting a ball to left field.
Yes. To left field.
Yeah, I've never seen that again. I've never seen that.
I've never seen it either.
All right. Next round now, we're going to start with Jen. We're going to cycle through the order once here. All-time career earnings. We just talked about it. Mark McGwire. Jen, we're going to start with you.
Oh my goodness. How many seasons did he play?
Mark McGwire played 15 seasons from 1984 with the Oakland A's until 2001 with the St. Louis Cardinals. My math might be off on that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sure that was before I ever paid attention to salaries. And if you've watched me play this game, I still don't pay attention to salaries enough. So I have absolutely no idea. 130.
130,000 or $1 million?
Somebody got low ball.
Exactly $130.
$150. Scott, Mark McGwire, total career earnings. What do you got?
I've got 131 million.
You're a dick. Joel, what do you got for Mark McGwire?
Go 132.
I'll go with-
132.
What? 95.
95 million for Joel. And that leaves us to Rick.
We go with 150 million.
150 million. 150. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Well, you're all over. So
Wow.
We've
Really?
never had that happen before. I
So
don't
we
know.
all-
Can we start again?
I think we all start again. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we do. So
My low
Jen,
guess that got the gasps was actually the closest.
I go low
We
on
all went over.
You
Yeah,
all
I go
overbid.
on over on
All
my
right.
Jen, what do you got? Mark McGwire,
87.
87. Scott, what do you got? Mark McGwire.
75.
75 for Scott. Joel, what do you got?
78.
78. And lastly, Rick, what do you got for Mark McGwire?
We'll go 50.
$50 million. The correct answer. Ding, 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 ding. We have a $500 bonus. Someone guessed it exactly right. $75 million. Scott.
Hey.
$500
all right.
and the floor is yours.
Okay. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in his career has an OPS just over 600 in April, just over 650 in May, and over 900 in June. We're literally watching Lourdes Gurriel Jr. heat up, and substantially in the last 7 games, he's hitting over 400 right now as we're going into June. My question to you is, why? Does anyone have any theories on the thinking of someone who it takes 2 months to get into a season? I mean, if I'm gonna pick a guy like Gurriel, a guy like Grishik, Mr. April, or Mr. September, obviously I'm picking Gurriel. But why? Does anyone have any theories?
Edwin was similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, very,
And-
very good.
100%.
point.
Yeah, for whatever reason, and they would just all they would ever say was, "Well, he likes the warmer weather." He and
Like,
I
like as
just
if
wanna,
that's somehow an answer.
I just want to interject here. Simon from the YouTube chat has pointed out that the bases are juiced.
yes, they are.
With
so
no
if you guys
outs.
are not following
One
along.
now.
It is
Oh,
the
I'm
top of
Well, that's
7
why I keep
bases
going
Just going to
like
mention
this.
that too with Biggio up.
with Bijou up.
Look at
So there we go. All right.
Who's already in the 6 hole, by the way. Kevin Biggio gets called up from Buffalo. All of a sudden, he's hitting 6. This is the lineup. Charlie's
I agree
putting
with
out.
Jen on
Anyways.
that, though. I do agree that the warmer weather, we see it consistently with players batting better when the weather warms up. I don't know how that affects with Toronto, stuff like that. But I know with the White Sox, they start out slow every year hitting and then just end up coming around as the weather gets better.
I wonder, and sounds really, really dumb, but is it just, the muscles, right? When it's cold, maybe you tense up a little bit. I don't know.
It's a good point.
Could it just
It's
be
also-
messing with his timing? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially this year with the short and condensed 162 game.
If that's the case, though, how do we not have someone on this like high performance department who can pinpoint and recognize that and be like, okay, we need to change his warm up routine or whatever the case may be, and like get him loose
Lourdes
in
a
April.
blanket in April.
Heated blanket from Bed Bath and Beyond.
You see a big blanket being put over.
He comes off into the clubhouse and they're
Yep.
literally like the pitchers wrap their one arm in towel, the whole body just in a towel.
It's like the
Genius.
it's like the mid '90s pitcher who gets on base and they put the coat on him. He just
Yeah.
comes up to the plate with the coat
Stay
on.
warm. You got to stay warm, bud.
Horrible coat. Tepera's pitching now, by the way.
Yeah.
Angels.
Because remember when right behind my right shoulder here, old R.A. Dickey, right? April and May, he would put up a 6 ERA. And then July and August, like clockwork, he would be unhittable. He'd be throwing up 1.5 ERAs. And then as it started to cool down in September, he'd be back to around a 4. And every year, he'd end with right around a 4 ERA. And I remember, like, it was a difficult thing as a fan, right? To watch him in April and just be like, how is this happening? How is it possible for someone to be so dominant in 1 month? And then, but the knuckleball makes so much more sense than a guy like Edwin or Lourdes. I don't know. It's just weird to me.
You wonder if it starts to become mental as well.
Right.
Once, if it happens a couple of seasons and then that's in your head, well, I don't hit well in April or I need warmer weather to hit.
Self-fulfilling
Like,
prophecy
I don't
at that
even
point,
know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? If it's a timing thing, like that suggests that spring training needs to be longer, crazily enough.
I
I
agree with that.
because
I
last year,
don't-
how did he?
I,
hit
I
in-
just love that. I don't hit well in April. Also, these balls are not right. They don't weigh the same.
I need that shirt. Take it, Joel. You're on it.
It's 2022 that represents it right there. I was gonna say that, like, to me, the cold, it doesn't make so much sense to me because at the end of last season, who was a hotter hitter on the team than Lourdes? Well, Danny, right? Danny was right there in September. So like it cools down at the end of the season too, but that tells me that he's still on fire as the season comes to an end. So it's just like, well, push that earlier, like get him going earlier. So September is now a month earlier, and that bad month of the season is just it's in March now. Like it seems like that's the case because it's like clockwork, like you said. Gurriel is up at the plate right now, 2-0 count, 1 out, bases loaded. So there might not be a better time to bring this up, but like, yeah, like he turns it around as soon as that sun comes out, and the baseball becomes that summer sport, and Gurriel's hitting again.
It's very
You have to
possible
grit your teeth
Tepera-
through the first 2 months, though.
Very possible Tepera will claim cheating if he gives up a few runs. I'm just warning you.
There you go. Let's transition to this next round of career total earnings. We've got the subject of one of our later stories, Jock Peterson. So Scott, we're gonna start with you for Jock Peterson.
Let's start with an even 60 mil for Jock.
60 million from
I
Scott.
might be way
All
under
right,
here.
Joel, you're up next. Jock
That's a
Peterson.
really good guess.
I didn't know.
Um,
I'm way
I'll-
under. That's a terrible guess. Damn it, I screwed up.
I'll go 85.
85
That seems high though.
for Joel.
No, that's a much more reasonable guess than 60. You're looking so much smarter than I am, Joel.
How long has he played? What, 8 seasons, 9 seasons?
8 seasons, yes. Rick. Jacques Peterson.
Lourdes takes a walk. Sorry,
40.
guys. I know we're
I'll
trying
go
to.
40.
40 from Rick. Okay. And Jen, yourself.
50.
Okay.
50. All right. Well, for the second consecutive time, everybody is way over.
I was gonna guess low.
Wow. I went
Wow.
Nobody's
way
bidding $1 today. So
And I was. Wow. And
Scott,
I was.
let's try it
really-
again. The high water mark was 40. Or sorry, low water mark was 40. So everything's got to be less than that. Jacques Peterson, 8 seasons in the MLB.
Stop! You're ruining it. You're ahead of me, Joel.
35 million.
I'm trying not to
35.
say anything. I'm just biting my knuckle.
Joel, what do you got for Jacques Peterson?
32.
32. Rick, what do you got?
25.
25 from Rick. And Jen, what do you got?
36.
36 from Jen, the correct answer. And ding, 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 we have a $500 bonus for hitting it right on the head with 25 million. Rick, you're correct. I'm surprised by how low that number is for Jacques Peterson. After 8 seasons, he's only made $25 million. So, Rick, the floor
Let's
is
afford
yours.
those pearl necklaces. That is my question, right?
So my topic will be, do we think that the increase in injuries this year is due to a shortened spring training? That's something I've kind of pondered with them trying to get in 162 games this year. They've shortened the amount of spring training games and we're seeing lots of injuries. I just want to get each one of your guys' opinions on what you think about the shortened spring training and the injury pile up this year.
Rick, I love this topic.
Mm-hmm.
I love this topic because I strongly feel that the increase in injuries is 100% because of the shortened spring training. And I think that 2020 already proved that. And in true MLB fashion, they don't give a shit about the data and the experience that they've already gone through. I mean, I understand they had to get 162 games in this year, but I'm almost at the point where it's like, could we gone until November 7th? Like, can you just give them that extra week? Like, what are we talking here? Like, I know I saw the stat where injuries are up 21% this year.
Yeah.
Man, that's a substantial amount. Like, 20% is substantial.
Yeah. That is big. I didn't even realize the injuries were up
That's
so
my
much this
2
year.
cents anyways, yeah.
I did a whole video on it. I ended up taking it down. It didn't do too well, but it was bringing up 2020 and the increase in injuries. It actually went all the way and bled into 2021. So, I mean, and then we're seeing it again this year with the shortened spring training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could have extended the season later into the year if they really wanted to fit in the 162, but it does look like prioritizing profits over players, right? Over player health. So that's not a good look.
Well, also, like, look what happened with the Jays at the beginning of the season. Like, you have a shortened spring training and then you plug them for the most possible games that you can play in a row right to start the year.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem right. And then you have this horrible weather going on, so you got to plug in double headers on a condensed season, and you're not doing shortened double headers. It's not 7-inning games. You're doing full, which I'm not saying I want the 7-inning games, but it's just like, I think you needed to make a few concessions for innings and stuff like that. And I don't think I would have been so offended with 156. Like,
No.
I would have been mad that it wasn't a full season, but 156, I would have been like, all right, whatever. You know, it's not, we didn't lose. You don't lose that much with 156 or, 154, 152.
Yeah.
And the health is, when you see the top, like when you see top end players and you're risking 21% increase in injuries. And it's like that, when you take out a top star, that's, you can't be losing these guys. People show up for these players and injuries it just does seem like, baseball's a tough marathon sport, and to think that you can condense it and just have these guys go sprint style to start the season on a condensed spring training. That's what's going on, and it's not good.
what's really frustrating I find too is that if you look at the league and how much emphasis they put on playing 162 games, and for the players a big part of that was just getting paid their full salary. I just don't understand why out of good faith the MLB ownership groups wouldn't have just gone, listen, we'll pay you for 162. Let's play 156 games. We'll protect your assets, right? Yeah, I know. It's insane right now.
Game.
Full count.
Pointing at the game or pointing at Joel because I see.
Oh, sorry. I'm pointing at my TV.
And that's a tie game, folks. Look at this. What a
So,
series.
Everybody's
game,
walking right now. It's
Balls are different.
What is it, 5-6 walks this thing? This is wild.
This is
doing a
the
great
kind
job.
of I like these balls. These
Yeah,
are the fun
let's
ones.
play with these balls all the time.
That's good. All right, last round. Who hasn't won one yet? Is it Scott?
Oh,
Joel?
I won. I won the first one.
Is it Jen?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, Jen. I didn't mean to point you out. I thought for sure it was Scott, and I was going to make fun of him. So now I just feel like a monster. I'm just
Jen's like, it's fine.
all right. So let's transition to hockey players now, because Joel's good at Jen's good at guessing those. No, the other side of the Jacques Peterson Tommy Pham slapsident. Let's go with Tommy Pham. So Joel, we'll start with you. What's your guess for total career earnings for Tommy Pham?
I'll go 50 million.
50 million from Joel. Rick, you're up next. Tommy Pham. This
He's
does not
going
count.
around-
This is just contract earnings. This is not earnings made playing fantasy football.
I was just gonna say if he's going around slapping people, he can't be making that much money. So I'm gonna go 10.
10 million. Okay. Jen, what do you got for Tommy Pham?
30.
30 million. And Scott, what do you got for Tommy Pham?
I'll go with 11.
11 million. And the correct answer is $24 million for Tommy Pham. So Scott wins with 11. And Jen, the floor is yours.
Okay, so Blue Jays related topic. Raimel Tapia, who has come up big in today's game. So, but I think we need to set that aside for a second. He has played 42 games this season. I think only Espinal, Chapman, and Bichette have played in more games than Raimel Tapia. Now, of course, there are injuries to account for, but Springer in 15 of his 45 games has either DH'd or has not started the game and has come in to pinch hit, right? So a third of his games. I mean, Raimel Tapia should not be a full-time player on this team, first of all. Again, setting aside what he's done today. Good for him. So, what is the solution to this? And maybe a bigger question, we've already talked about the relief pitching. What's the biggest need right now? A dominant left-hand bat or a reliever? And if you don't want to talk about that, then I can just sit here and listen to Joel give a full movie review of Top Gun.
Don't give me that opportunity.
There isn't enough time in the day.
It's 45 minutes. I can fill that time like that. No problem.
That's fine.
As I was talking about earlier, I think that hitting has to be the priority here. As I stated, the numbers are 25th in runs, 21st in the league in hits. 18th in total bases and batting average, 19th in on base percentage. I say prioritize the hitting. I think the pitching, is good. I think it'll continue to do well. I think hitting personally for me.
I want both. I want to go to Kansas City. I want to talk to the Royals. I want Andrew Benintendi. I want Scott Barlow. I want them now, and I want to readdress all of this at the trade line once again. I feel like
you're the guy who says, I'll take more wishes when you get 3 wishes.
Yeah. Yeah. My first wish is for 100 wishes.
Oh, that's great.
I tend to lean towards the need for a real left-handed bat or switch hitter. That I think is where I lean. It is concerning seeing Jose Barrios not pitching well. His velocity is also down, and having to pull him early, in starts, and then that of course is taxing the bullpen as well. So there are a few concerns going on here, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. And I said it earlier, I totally understand not wanting, both of your catchers in the lineup on the same day in case of injury. But I really think between Kirk and Jansen, you almost have to have both of them in the lineup right now based on how they're hitting.
Mm-hmm.
And Tapia, not so much.
Well, I mean, and Adam and I have talked about this a lot on the podcast, where we're just like, listen, let's not pile on to our fourth and fifth outfielder. But I mean, you give those numbers and you're like, Raimel Tapia is not our fourth outfielder.
No,
right?
He's playing almost every day.
He's an everyday player, and
Yeah.
that is the problem. Like, I don't want to just shit on this guy who's meant to be a bench piece.
Exactly.
Because as a bench piece, he's great. He was a good addition. He's who you need. You need a guy who can run, who can field well. I mean, his launch angle has improved substantially this year. He's hitting balls in the air. He's getting those doubles that we thought were possible to come from him. He's still not an everyday player.
Well,
and as soon as you play a guy who's not an everyday player, it exposes.
And that's just it, right?
weakness,
Like, he has made strides this season with his adjustments, which is fantastic because he has done what he can do on his end to make himself, a more suitable piece on this team. But he was never meant to play every day, and yet here he is playing every day, and at least a significant portion of it is because George Springer needs to either be rested or DH'd, a third of the time.
So if that's the case, which is I'm completely fine with that. Like, I honestly am fine with George Springer playing 130 games a year and 50 of those being a DH. It's not ideal, but he's 32 years old and we've seen what he can do at the plate. I'll take that every day. But if that's the case, then we do need an upgrade in that bench piece outfielder, because Raimel Tapia and Bradley Zimmer are not doing it for me. Yeah.
That's what I was going to add to the equation, was that you have to throw Zimmer's at bats pretty much onto Tapia as well. And it's just like, and then you have to put that in the number 9 spot, which is ahead of Springer. So there's never any, there's no on base percentage going on in front of Springer. So it's also the combination of where they're situated in the lineup, which just always baffles me. I'd rather have, Kirk in the 9 spot and terrible base running, but at least he's on base, than never on base.
Well, I have been very vocal about my displeasure with Raimel Tapia since the hop. But lately, and I know he's come through good today, and I think earlier in this Angel series too, he's had a couple good games. But it also has felt like a little bit, if we look further back, I feel like more often than not, I don't feel as disgusted by him as I did in April. So I pulled up his stats just for the last 3 weeks here, or 2.5 weeks, I guess, dating back to May 11th. He's hitting 282 in the last 2.5 weeks. So as far as this team goes, that's one of our top hitters in the last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I guess I have a bigger issue seeing him being especially today, being in that DH role, right?
Against a lefty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
there's definitely got to be better options there than Tapia, especially at DH. I mean, we've seen Zimmer in the DH role too this year, and there has just been some real head scratchers out of that DH position.
And it's Teo got an at bat in the 7th inning of this game. So it's just if he's going to get at bats in the 7th inning of the game, we might get 2 at bats in a game. Why isn't he DHing? against the lefty,
Yeah,
where he
exactly.
slugs, where he puts up 1,000 OPS against lefties, and his batting average is like 160 right now. So you'd love to get him in against a lefty where he absolutely crushes for his career. That's just a baffler for me. Situationally, one specific one.
I did want to get Jen's input on Kevin Biggio's call up to the Blue Jays. You've talked me off of the Kevin Biggio is a real thing train this year, but he's back now. Are you happy about it? Are you frustrated by it? Like, what do you think?
I think I said last week that they, when he's ready, they need to call him up and give him another chance. I do think they, sort of owe that to him to see what could he possibly be, with he's got another year under his belt, and here we go. I'm guessing Joel's watching the game and something's up.
Let's.
No, you can do it. It's just, I like the reaction.
I can tell what's going to go on by your facial expression.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Avert your eyes.
And Biggio, I think, he's been back, 3 games? Today's the 4th, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think he was batting in the first 3 games back. I think he was batting something like 250, which is great, but it's way too small of a sample size to know how that projects. I don't really want to see him getting a lot of at-bats. I think he provides a better lefty bat perhaps than Tapia, but that's still not saying much and is still underscoring the need to go out and get either a left-handed bat or a switch hitter, like a true, right? Like somebody you truly want in the lineup every day.
Yeah. How have you felt about his defensively to see him, he's come in, he's played, I think it was DH 1 game, second base for 1 game, and first base for 2 games. Actually, I think he might have played left field in one of those games as well. So are you at least encouraged to see that the Blue Jays are at least taking advantage of some defensive versatility?
Well, that is his most useful role for sure, right? Is the fact that he can be moved around the diamond, and with Vladdy out nursing a wrist injury of some sort, being able to slot Biggio into first base is definitely, something that he has over other players, right? That is his true value, in my opinion, is being able to come off the bench and sort of be put anywhere on the diamond, depending on what the need is in that moment. Still not an everyday player, particularly on a team that is supposed to be better than what we have been seeing from the offense.
Scott,
I agree with everything. I agree with everything that Jen just said. I will add, though, that despite the fact that he's not an everyday player, I do think that Biggio fits well on this team. I do think that there is a spot on the bench for him. I think that when his bat is in the lineup, it isn't a detriment, and I think he's proving that this last 3 games. Again, very small sample size, but if you're just going to go from what he was when he was completely healthy, and I do think health has had a big part of this dip that we've watched Kevin Biggio take over the last 12 months, I think that there is a place for him on this bench, and I think he could be a very valuable member to this team playing 100 games a year. I don't think there's anything wrong with a guy playing 100 games a year, and guys who play 100 games a year sometimes wind up on the playoff roster. I'm just saying there could be a spot for Kevin Biggio. But I agree 100% with Jen, where I don't want to see Kevin playing 162 games.
All right, enough of that. We have one last one to get to here. My dad just texted me in. I didn't know this, but former Blue Jays catcher Russell Martin retired today, officially.
Yeah.
I think he hasn't played in the major league since 2019, but officially calling it quits. So look out, Charlie Montoyo. You're officially on the hot seat for Jays manager. No, I'm kidding, of course. But final round here, the default is I'm going to win anyways. So that I could talk about my stupid topic for 1 minute. But we're going to play a quick round, career total earnings for Russell Martin. I don't know either, so I'm going to make a guess too, but I get to go last. So, Rick, we're going to start with you. Career total earnings for Russell Martin.
7 million.
You say 7? 7 million for Rick. Jen, what do you got?
Well, that just totally threw me off.
I figure if I go low, I can win and just pass it to him.
Oh my God.
Rick's like, we're not all going over again this time.
125, 125, 125.
Ooh, that's yeah.
All right. Scott, what do you got for Russell Martin?
I'll say 126.
126. And Joel, what do you got?
I'm sorry, Jen.
I'll go 110.
110. I'm going to go with like 69 million.
Didn't he sign an $80 million deal with us though?
Joel, stop it, Joel.
You're ruining my guess, Joel. Stop.
Total career earnings for Russell Martin. This is a shocker to me. $120 million. So some very close guesses. Jen with 125, Scott with 126, Joel with 110. And of course, victory is mine with 69. So the subject I just want to talk about, I learned something cool today. So like candy bananas, how they taste nothing like bananas. I learned this week that the artificial banana flavor is actually based on the bananas that we had in the world when that flavor was created. So that was back around like the turn of the 19th century. That banana has since gone extinct. It was called the Gros Michel banana. We've replaced it with the Cavendish banana. Jen is raring to go. Jen, do you want to jump in here on bananas?
Okay, not bananas specifically, but
But peanuts.
No. So a lot of flavoring, right? Even if it says that it's natural flavoring, the actual chemical compound may not come from that specific fruit or whatever it is that we're talking about. So years ago, 60 Minutes did a segment called The Flavorists, and they were focusing predominantly on raspberry flavor. And so these chemists were talking about how they synthetically play with the chemical compound that makes the raspberry flavor. And so they can tweak it to be more sour, more sweet, more whatever. And their whole goal is to try to addict the person who is consuming the product, right? Obviously, because they work for the companies. Sure. But a lot of raspberry flavoring, that chemical compound isn't even based on the flavor compound from a raspberry. It's based on a compound produced by a gland in a beaver's backside.
You guys are killing my childhood.
Oh man, and I love raspberry fake flavoring so much.
No more candy for me.
Giving whole new meaning to the term blowing a raspberry. All right, well,
I'm glad
I'm not putting that into my search algorithm.
I've eaten a whole lot more beaver than I thought.
You guys want to? Do you all want to hear a fruit fact?
Yes.
That I don't know if this is 100% true. So somebody told me this.
Need a moment to take all that in.
Yeah.
But I guess oranges from the 50s, to get the same amount of nutrients and stuff like that out of an orange today, because the soil has been so much more used and used up, such a thing.
Sure.
It takes 5 oranges in 2022 to equate to the same sort of nutrients you'd get from an orange from 1950. Again, I've got no facts to back this up.
I heard a very similar stat, but it was about peaches. So there must be some truth somewhere in the middle. All right, let's get back to baseball, I suppose.
I just wanted to bring that up so it doesn't seem so weird if we're around each other and hanging out and I sit down and eat 6 oranges. It's for my health.
That segment went slightly off the rails, just like this Jays game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, geez, is it ever? What's the score of the Jays game now?
10-9 Angels. Simber gave up a home run, and we're just in the 8th inning.
Wow.
By the time, who would have thought that we would literally start and end this show in the middle of this game?
A fourth inning when we started.
Yeah, wild. Well, as protest, we're canceling our Angels in the Outfield movie review. So, all right, let's have a look now at this upcoming series against the Chicago White Sox.
Nice,
Rick.
The perfect kind of twist there would have been to be like, speaking of protest, and then go into Gabe Kapler. But we don't need to be perfect here on the walk-off.
As I was saying, let's pivot now to this protest from Gabe Kapler.
Didn't we already go over that? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you're messing with me now. Oh, man. All right, so let's talk Kapler, manager of the San Francisco Giants, not coming out for the national anthem until he feels better about the direction of our country, is the quote. This comes, I believe, on the heels of the, I don't have the word for it, unfortunate shooting down there in Texas at the elementary school. I had a good cry over that one. Of course, my daughter is the same age as a lot of those poor kids. Yeah, so it's a very sensitive subject. But let's talk the protest in general. Obviously, this is something that not too long ago, protesting the national anthem was frowned upon, to say the least. I don't know if the words Colin Kaepernick would come up with for protesting the national anthem. But here we go. So it's a protest with no end in sight. Scott, do you want to start with your thoughts on the protest?
I think it's great that somebody with a voice and a platform is making some noise over this issue. It's something that is long overdue in the U.S., in my opinion.
Rick's giving us a shush face.
Oh, no, it's me.
He's giving his facial expressions. He's giving away the game before it gets to it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that you were like, I thought you were both being like, no, don't talk about that, Scott.
Yeah, I thought we were getting
no. It's totally not. It's totally with the game. I'm not. Those reactions were to what was on the baseball.
Yeah, it's Bichette hitting home run.
Yeah,
Bichette hits a home run here. My feet is behind. Joel, how could you? No,
that's what I've been telling him.
I'm sorry. That's totally not the right time to waiver the conversational topic there, so I apologize.
Yeah.
I completely...
It's really Bo's fault for interrupting such a sensitive subject.
But he's putting the jacket on, so...
There.
Okay, so I will like 15 seconds. And
I will finish my thought here because it is a heavy subject. No, it is a heavy subject, and I think, honestly, all respect to Gabe Kapler, because the truth is that, and it's not the same here in Canada. There isn't the same sort of... Patriotism is probably the right word, because there are a lot of Americans who protesting the anthem is just a no-go, right? Like that is a big-time protest. They consider it disrespectful. They think it. A lot of people tie the anthem to the troops and all that sort of thing. But you know what? If you're trying to make a statement and you're trying to raise awareness and you're trying to get the spotlight on the subject that you're protesting, it's a pretty darn good way to do it. I mean, Colin Kaepernick proved that. And I mean, my goodness, Gabe Kapler, we all know, isn't going to need to deal with the same sort of shit that Kaepernick dealt with for this. So I think it's great. It sucks that it's such a shit.
I don't know.
Look, I'm kind of talking myself into a hole.
Maybe
here,
we can rally the truckers and get them to park outside of the Capitol.
Can we convoy this away? Can we convoy this away? That is
the question. Would be: I know that there's more scrutiny on people, like managers, players who aren't going to stand for the anthem. But honestly, I've went to games and I've seen people not standing, not putting the hat off or putting it against their chest, and there's just a lot of people who don't do that. Why aren't they called out for it the same way? I feel like it's just different. So
that's a good point. I just want to kind of quickly throw around the horn here and get everybody's input. There's no right or wrong answer here, but if you are at a professional sports game or a whatever ceremony and the national anthem is being played, I assume everyone takes their hats off here, but do you sing along out loud? Do you observe silently? Do you mouth the words but not make a sound? I sing not at like a full, I'm not belting it out, but I am definitely making noise out of my mouth and it drives my daughter nuts. She's embarrassed by it when we're at like an Oilers game and I'm literally singing along to the national anthem, but it's something that I don't know. I'm just interested to get everyone's quick take on this and then we'll move on. But Jen, let's start with you. Do you sing the national anthem in public?
I have an unpopular opinion, which is that the anthems do not need to be played ahead of sporting events unless there are international teams involved. I do stand, and I stand silently. I did once take a knee during the US anthem at a Jays game. This was shortly after George Floyd. I told the people that I was with that I was going to take a knee in case they didn't want to be associated with me. And one person actually joined me, and no one said a word to me about it. Like, it was not something that anyone around me then called me out for or anything of that nature. So again, those might be unpopular opinions. I find it bizarre how it's standing for the anthem at a game or not standing somehow equates to whether or not you support the military or support the government. Like, I just find these associations to be very, very strange. But that's a whole other thing. As for, Gabe Kapler, it is a way of drawing attention to something. And, it was Uvalde this week, but it was Buffalo 2 weeks ago. I could go on and on. This is actually one of the reasons why I haven't been on Twitter very much this week, to be completely honest. Every time I came onto Twitter, I was just way too overwhelmed with things that I was seeing that I just got back off Twitter. I couldn't bring myself to tweet about baseball, if you want the truth. I'm a teacher. I've experienced a violent incident at school. I've taught in the U.S. with an armed police officer full-time in the building. I have total respect for what Gabe Kapler is doing.
Okay. Interestingly enough, Unpopular Opinions was one of the original titles for this show. So there we go. Joel, follow that up. I dare you.
Okay, I'll try. You can't have freedom and you can't have freedom both ways, right? You can't be the country of freedom and then oppose somebody who is stretching and exercising his freedoms, right? You can't have it both ways, right? So to honor I'm Canadian, right? So I'm speaking of, but to truly honor the American flag, you have to honor all the freedoms that it stands for. So whatever someone else's opinion is and whatever else they do, they have the freedom to exercise that. So, I personally, I sing. It's because I have an incredible singing voice. So
I was just going to say,
and I can't deprive the people that I'm around not singing the national anthem. But I think that's my point, is that if you want to go and you want to make that moment mean something else because you have a statement to make that is more important than the game, right? You've got that freedom to do so, and that's kind of what that flag represents. So,
yeah, absolutely, right. I won't get into the gun laws and all of that, but if there's supposed to be the freedom, or the various amendments and whatnot to the Constitution, then choosing what you do during the anthem is absolutely covered in all of that. And Colin Kaepernick, I guess, is sort of the original, person to have done it in terms of, the spotlight being on him. But he decided to take a knee on the advice of a military veteran. Mm-hmm. He was going to sit, and I think he might have actually sat.
He did originally sit. That's
yeah.
True. Yeah.
And it was while speaking with a military veteran. It was the veteran who said that, kneeling would be sort of, an appropriate form of action, and fully supported Kaepernick in doing so. So I just want to toss that out there as well, that, it might be viewed as somehow being unpatriotic or anti-military, but that original protest was sort of shaped with Yvette's input.
It is interesting how so many of these things, whether it's singing along to a national anthem or a moment of silence on a Remembrance or Memorial Day or whatever the case may be, I always grew up where it was like a personal thing. It was a time for self-reflection and to whatever form that might take. And it's unfortunate now, I think, that we're in a place in the world where people externalize those personal moments and say, well, if you're not doing it the way I want you to do it, it's disrespectful to everything that I'm honoring when I'm taking my moment of silence and stuff like this. And just going to the Colin Kaepernick thing, his whole message really got off the rails, and it became about something that I don't think he was intending to make it be a protest on. And that's really unfortunate. Rick, let's end with you on this matter. Are you singing to the national anthem? And then we'll get into the White Sox.
I am not. The only reason is I wouldn't want to deafen the people around me. I just do not have a good voice. I couldn't have put it any better than they both put it. I mean, it's in a, like, I feel the same way. It's why I do with the baseball channel that I do, is so people can state their opinions without being ridiculed. So I feel the same way. You should be able to do what you want to do. I mean, if you don't want to stand or sing for it, if you want to kneel for it, that's your choice. There's nobody who should tell you what to do. I don't get mad about politics. I don't get mad about that stuff. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. So, I mean, it's a tough subject. And, I mean, I'll leave it at that.
Scott, I don't think we got your answer. Do you sing?
Not normally. I do like to really belt it out in All of Us command, just for those whose feathers that ruffles. But other than that line in particular, I don't really sing, no. But take me out to the ball game. Try and shut me up.
All right, I love it. Let's talk now White Sox. The whole reason Rick is here, we saved it for the very end. Rick, we got 3 games against your White Sox. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I believe, is when it goes down. I want to start with this question to you because we had Arden Zwelling on the show last week, and we were talking the heat that Bo Bichette gets for his defensive struggles that he's had, whether it's with his glove or with his arm. And I brought up Anderson there on the White Sox.
Fair comparison.
Leads Major League Baseball in errors.
Yep.
Arden was curious, do White Sox have that same level of frustration with Anderson? Like, do you see a difference? Like, why does Anderson get the slack that Bo Bichette isn't? Or is he also being ridiculed the same way? And we're just not hearing it.
Is this a recency bias on our part, right? Like, Are we just judging Bo because we're Toronto fans? Do White Sox fans get as frustrated with Anderson?
Yes. But I feel like it's hard. You got to take that stuff with a grain of salt because, I mean, range is a thing. Is Anderson getting the balls? Is Bichette getting the balls that people aren't going to get to normally? Where if you don't get to that ball, it's not an error. But if you get to it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it deflects off your glove or you bobble it, then it's an error. So I've had that brought up. I'd like to see your guys' opinions on that because
that's a good point.
Some of these guys are so athletic that they're getting there. They're just not making the play, and it's costing them an error. But their range is better, so the people with less range aren't getting as many errors because they're just not getting there.
That's a great point. I mean, if you were less good, it's just a base hit, and there's no error charged, right? So, yeah, that's a very valid point. Any other thoughts on the Bo Bichette Anderson comparisons, or should we just talk White Sox in general here?
Well, personally, I think they're both very exciting young shortstops that are going to entertain baseball fans for a decade to come. I think it's great to see this sort of talent coming up in the major leagues. And I mean, Bo Bichette's 24. Tim Anderson's the same?
28. I think he's a little older.
Yeah, he's a little bit. I think he's
a little bit older, but like, yeah. I mean,
but he's put down some incredible seasons, like for about 3-4 years now. So
yeah.
he has the most Anderson has the most multi-hit games in the major leagues right now. So
Wow.
Very
Cool.
impressive.
he's
Blue Jays.
Blue
Jays took a 1-run lead there in the top of the 8th. So
Yeah, I was burying my reactions.
Vladdy came in to pinch hit.
Did see that.
Yeah, that was like I don't
then
know.
they
I'm talking
walked
about
him.
that.
and then they walked
Yeah,
him,
but-
of course.
But that with 2 outs got Gurriel up to the plate, and Gurriel landed a double. So it was like that move did get Gurriel up to the plate, swinging
Yeah.
the hot bat with runners on. So like
June Gurriel is here, baby.
yeah, that's true.
I like
We're
that.
seeing
I
it
think you
all
should
in-
market that.
Yeah, June Gurriel.
Patent it.
So Guerrero came in to pinch hit for Kevin Biggio, got intentionally walked. I think the same thing happened last night to Biggio. He got pinch hit for George Springer, and they intentionally walked George Springer. So if that's the role Kevin Biggio needs to play on this team, where he's just the guy that we pinch hit for and take a free base, then so be it. All right. Quick look at the White Sox standings wise. Look, you're around 500 right now, correct?
Yeah, we're. I think we're 500 with a win today against the Cubs. We did not look good. So
I think they're 22 and 24.
I think
think
it might
23
be off. I don't have my
Sorry,
phone.
20. Yeah, you're right. 23 and 23. My apologies.
And they did, like I said, they didn't score. They were down 1-0 until the 9th. They tied at the 9th, and then they
Yeah.
kind of went back and forth in extras until they won at the 12th. So I see the Blue Jays taking 2 out of 3 in this one. I think the only game the White Sox take away a win in this series is the Kopech matchup with Ryu, because White Sox hit left-handers well. And Kopech, I mean, is your best chance to win in this series. You don't know what you're getting out of Cueto. And I mean, Giolito, I mean, you got a chance to win in that game. I just don't believe the White Sox are going to do anything against your right-handers. And you got 3 right-handers going up against the Blue Jays. So, I mean, we're still can't stay healthy for a full season. Eloy Jimenez gets pulled yesterday with leg soreness in AAA. So, I mean, we're looking at how long is he going to be out? Are they going to rest him? Lynn seems to be good. They're going to let him make 3 starts at AAA. You got Luis Robert, who should be there for the Blue Jays series, but he's still on the COVID-19 list. I think they're bringing him off tomorrow from what I've seen, and he is traveling with the team. But now Anderson was pulled today with an injury in the 6th inning. Strained groin, was helped off the field by 2 trainers in the 5th inning after going after a ground ball, which that's huge. He's batting .356 right now. So, like I said, in my opinion, if you want my prediction, Blue Jays take 2 out of 3.
Rick, how are you feeling about the White Sox bullpen outside of Liam Hendricks?
Not good. I mean, I don't know if I like LaRussa's what he's doing there. I mean, he just, it's boggling my mind why he's putting certain guys in situations. I mean, I'm sure you guys go through the same thing with the Blue Jays. It's easy to second guess when you're sitting on your couch drinking a beer, just watching the game after it's already happened. You know what I mean? After the outcome's already there. But I just don't understand why he's putting people in the places that he is. But I guess, they make the money to make those choices. So, but yeah, I see, definite Blue Jays taking 2 out of 3.
Speaking of LaRussa, how are you feeling about LaRussa's role as the manager on that team? Is he job secure in Chicago? What's the atmosphere like with the fan base? Are they frustrated with him? Are they happy with him?
I mean, it's a mix. They're more a lot. I'll check a lot on Bleacher Report just to I don't go in there and comment on anything, but I'll look at the comments and try to gauge the temperature of the team. And they're just frustrated with the offense in general. Yeah. They were waiting forever to designate for assignment Keuchel, and they just did it. If anybody hadn't seen that, he was struggling. He was making comments that were a distraction to the team, so they finally got rid of him. I'm interested to see if any teams pick him up. But it's just the injuries. Everyone's saying everyone's made of glass. Roberts hasn't played a full season. Eloy keeps getting hurt. I mean, Lynn's been hurt. I mean, we haven't played with a full team. I still think we make the playoffs, but it's going to be a rough road ahead, especially with injuries. So, I'd be curious to see what you guys think, not seeing, every White Sox game and what you're seeing from the outside in, instead of me being up close watching every single game every single day.
Is this our first matchup with the White Sox this year, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
I guess I'm more surprised by the performance of the Twins so far this season than I am with the performance of the White Sox. Like I think that the White Sox are still going to win that division. I don't think that the Twins are for real. So I don't know. How does everybody else? I mean, we can get back to Rick's opinions in a second here, but Jen, how do you feel about that AL Central, namely the White Sox and the Twins? Do you think the Twins are for real? Because we got the Twins after this series against the White Sox.
No, so. It's really hard to determine. I don't watch enough of both of their games. I certainly would have thought the White Sox would have had a better record at this point.
Yeah.
Right. Going into the season. That does surprise me. Mm-hmm. So I guess, we'll have to see how it all plays out. Injuries are to make it too hard to predict anything anymore, right?
It really does. It's a crapshoot once you're playing with your backups. That's for sure.
One thing I am kind of excited to see is how all of these wild card situations wind up, because I think that the records between all of these wild card teams are going to matter so much more than we're actually giving it credit for, and that the end of the season, the last 10 games, is going to be pretty wild to watch how things shake out. And I mean, personally, I think that the White Sox are in a very similar situation to the Jays in that both teams could still win the division. It would not shock me either way.
Yep.
And both teams have been underperforming. Both teams have had some injury stuff that maybe other organizations haven't dealt with yet. It's 162 games. Every single team is going to deal with injuries, so you can't lean too heavy on that. But you always deal with them at different times throughout the season, and the White Sox have been hit hard by it. I don't know. The more I see the Twins, the more I start to think maybe they are legit. I don't think that they're a 700% win team. I think that they are going to come back to reality, and I think that they're going to wind up fighting it out with the White Sox for the top of that division. But man,
here's where I want to step in, because this is where I keep coming back to, I think the Minnesota Twins are imposters. So as it stands right now, they are leading the AL Central Division. They're 29-19. But if we look at their record against teams who have 500 or better records, the Minnesota Twins only have 5 wins this season.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
What about What about in the division? I haven't looked at that. What about the division?
I'm not looking at that in the moment.
You're good, because I think that might be one of the reasons, because that's why the White Sox are so low, is they can't beat anyone in their division or win a series in their division.
Well, yeah, that was going to be kind of the point I'm getting at here, is the AL Central and the NL Central, those are the 2 worst divisions in the league, right? The AL Central specifically, if you're just taking half of your games against the Royals and the Tigers, that's going to inflate anybody's record, right? So, yeah, I don't.
Or it'll inflate the Twins and infuriate the White Sox.
Well, yeah, that too, right? But I don't know. So when I look at the Minnesota Twins, and they've had 11 games all season against teams over 500, 11. That's 25% of their games.
We've had 24.
We've had 24 against.
We've had 24, over massively or more than anyone else, I believe, at this point in the season.
That's what happens when you play in the best division in baseball. I mean, you're going to play teams that are over 500 when you have had 3/4 of the division over 500.
So I think there's reason to still doubt that the Minnesota Twins are for real. I think. They're still going to have their games against Cleveland and Detroit and Kansas City as the year goes on, so they're going to still get some low hanging fruit. But I'm really still not a believer in this Minnesota Twins team, and I'd say long term I'm more. If we're running into a team in the playoffs, I'd rather face the Twins than the White Sox at this point.
I agree.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I was going to say that to me it feels like this season, which is probably the case for pretty much every baseball season, but if the White Sox stay close to 500 and with a healthy starting rotation that they throw out, when it's healthy, if it's Giolito, it's Cease, it's Kopech, and it's Lynn. That's a rotation that can go out there and spin you, 12 wins in 15 games. And it can give you that hot streak that is pretty much how many games you're over 500 at the end of the year. It comes down to that one, 10, 11 game win streak that you're able to pull out at some point in the season. And, for both teams, like the Jays right now are the 4-game win streak. And you just see how I'm not saying that this goes on to 10 or 12, but like you see what that when everything starts to click and everything lines up, the distance that you can make on other teams who are sticking around 500. So I think you'll see that from the White Sox. They'll be able to put together that string, especially with those arms in that division. You should be able to put together some nice stretches that put the White Sox back in that division hunt.
I think so too. All right, we do have a few more topics that we are not going to entirely get to today. We got a Charlie Montoyo topic. Is he a good manager or not? Or do we want to talk Teo extension? What do you guys want to do?
Doesn't matter to me. Both are good. Both are topics that can be carried over to next week too, right? Like both are actually not. Don't have to be done.
Why don't
Could
we
be
go
a weekly segment for Charlie, honestly.
Let's
do
I feel like every time.
He's brilliant.
Let's go around the horn and we can all decide which one we talk.
I'm feeling like this.
Oh God, this again.
That's right.
All right, maybe we'll just end it there. We've gone long the last couple weeks. Let's just end it with Jen.
We're gonna end
laying
on
out
time.
the
Right
bills.
here.
You started a whole new trend, Joel. Thank you.
How do you feel about the 22 season?
The balls are heavier on the left side.
We started this show in the 4th inning, and we are ending this show in the 8th inning.
2 hours and we got through 4 innings. Just
I
incredible.
do want to say, if you guys catch one game during the series, catch the Kopech. I'm telling you, man, he looks so good this year. Check out Kopech. And
He's put it together, eh?
Which day of the week is that?
I forgot. Giolito starts it off, so I believe he's the second game.
Okay, so that'll be Wednesday then.
Oh man,
Okay.
that'll be a good time.
Rick, what has it been that has put his game together? Is he just locating?
Yeah, the problem with him was I think he always wanted to start, but the White Sox weren't willing to start him because they were afraid of re-injury. So he even stated last year he wasn't fully comfortable in that relief role, and he still had good numbers. He's got the stuff with him and Cease. You got to look at maturity. Those guys are still young, like they're still learning how to pitch. You're not gonna have, and you guys all know this. You're not gonna have your A+ stuff every time. The pitchers are the ones that figure out how to get through the game without it, and that's maturity, and that's gonna come with time.
Very cool. So just looking at probable pitchers then for this series, we've got Giolito versus Gossman on day 1. That is Tuesday. We got Kopech versus Ryu on Wednesday, and then afternoon game on Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So be aware of that. And that is Cueto versus Manoah. So that'll be a good matchup as well. Okay, thanks for everybody for taking the time to sit down and join us for episode 18 of the Long Toss. Rick, it was nice to have you back. We'll touch base again, I'm sure, the next time the Jays and the White Sox tangle. Where can people find you? What are you working on TikTok? What's your...
Still doing the TikTok, doing Rick Talks Baseball. If you get a chance, check it out. I did go a little bit on Instagram. I don't post as much on there. Been doing some beer league softball, finding out how out of shape I am, and I am sponsoring myself in that league. So did get jerseys with a little logo on it, trying to get my brand out there. But I did do something, if you guys get a chance, any Blue Jays fans, did do some stuff on Roy Halladay. So check out that. I did do the career on it. There's some very interesting stuff. Also did post a daily moment of the Blue Jays' first home run in their history. So check that out if you can.
Okay, and that's on your TikTok?
Yep.
Okay, very cool. Scott, nice to see you as always. Are we live streaming this Tuesday?
Yeah. We'll see you Tuesday. This is going to be a plug for anyone listening literally right now, because probably by the time we air this tomorrow morning, it won't be happening. But I am going to be on 630 Ched, the AM big radio talk radio station in Edmonton. Any Edmontonian is well aware of 6:30 Ched, so I'll be on that on the morning show talking the Blue Jays for about 15 minutes. 6:10 is when I will be on in the morning. So I'm a man who doesn't get up before 9 very often. So yeah, real nice and early tomorrow.
Very good. And then we've got the Matt Gage interview going up, and we are interviewing Ken Pompey tomorrow morning, correct?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Father of Dalton.
Father of Dalton, yes. Jen, nice to see you, as always, the Iron Woman of our show. So we're going to have to check back through the records and see what your streak is at, but it's up there. I think if we can make Joel sick once, I think your streak
take
is number
over.
2. So
You can then be Iron Man. No, I'm kidding.
If I can develop a social life.
All right, it was nice to see you again, Jen. You're back to Twitter, tweeting baseball soon, hopefully.
I am. I was tweeting a little bit today, so yes, I'll be sharing my thoughts and commentary for anyone who chooses to read it.
All right, very good, Joel. That's a hell of a haircut you've got, my friend.
Like that.
It's a nice haircut. How was Top Gun? Give us your quick 1 minute review on the way out here. Top Gun. How was it? Worth going to?
Yeah. No, I blow a lot of smoke, but I think if you look at all the reviews, I got a 5-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival. A Rotten Tomato, it's like 99, critics and audience. You haven't seen a blockbuster like this in a long time. I really recommend watching the original. It's a corny 80s flick. It's got Highway to the Danger Zone in it about 15 damn times, and modern moviegoers were like, this is a corny, but you have to get those story points in your head to go watch this new one, because it's an emotional roller coaster. You're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, and the action scenes are unlike anything you'll ever see until he does another one. So it's 9.5 out of 10. It's near blockbuster perfection. No bathroom breaks. It's a bathroom break movie.
No bathroom break movie. Very good. Thanks so much, Joel. All right, and thanks to everybody for tuning in, whether you were live on Sunday night or rewatching the re-air Monday morning and beyond. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks again to our phenomenal panelists, and we'll catch you next week.